Hi guys. So it didn't take me very long to realize that the little information videos that I post tend to gain more traction than the average car video. So having said that, I thought I'd post a little video kind of geared towards guys that are looking to store their vehicle for the winter. Uh, I living in Canada. If you're in a colder climate like myself, I have well, from the time I was 16 years old to today, I've had to store at least one vehicle for the winter months, and that's been uh, about 41 years. So I do have some experience doing this, and I like to go through just a list of things that I like to do before I store a vehicle for the winter, and that'll be a 6-month period. If you're looking to store a vehicle for a year or more, well, I don't really have a process for that. That's a long period of time, and you know that I don't. That's just a long period of time. So anyway, first off, I'm not going to profess to be an absolute expert of any of this. I do have a lot of experience, but there's going to be people out there with different processes and ideas, and some will agree and disagree with the things that I do, and that's fine. But this is the stuff that works for me, so you can take it for what it is. Anyway, I've got two cars here that I store for the winter. One, of course, is the older one is the '68 Chevelle, and I've got a slightly newer car. It's a 2015 Malibu. This is going to also sit here for 6 months. So basically, the processes are the same for both cars, and I'll go over that stuff with you, and I'm going to list all the things that I do, and yeah, and I'll try and explain the details and exactly why I do what I do. So here we go. First off, I like to clean the cars inside and out, under the hood, detail everything the nice as you can. If you like to wax your car, go ahead and wax it, but that's totally up to you. Just get it nice and clean before you stick it away. One of the reasons I like to do that is because, well, if you get a lot of road grime and tar and bugs and stuff like that, it's going to be a lot harder to get that stuff off in the spring. So, really good idea to go through it, clean clean your car thoroughly inside and out. The trunk, under the hood. If you can get to the undercarriage, that's great too. The cleaner it is too is, you know, if you do get some leaks and things over the winter months, then a lot easier to identify those things if things are nice and clean. So first off, clean the car real good inside and out. Next thing I like to do is I fill up the gas tanks right to the brim, as full as I can get them, and I like to use a non-ethanol based fuel, and the reason for that is the ethanol based fuels tend to not have a really good shelf life. So this car here, I like to use Shell V-Power. It's a 91 octane. I have to run that in this car. It won't run on anything else, or not very well anyway. So that one I always run V-Power in that thing. 91 octane. It's right full to the top. This one here, we do use an ethanol based fuel in this one. This is just your regular street car. However, for the winter months, I do fill it up right to the brim with non-ethanol based 91 octane. And I run it for a bit to make sure that all that ethanol is out of there. So good idea to fill them right up. And the reason for that is basically, if there's any airspace in that gas tank at all, it leaves room for condensation to develop. So now, in different situations, like if you're in strictly a cold storage situation, may not be as much of an issue, or if you're in a heated storage issue, may not be as bad, but I guarantee you there will be some temperature fluctuations, and if there's some airspace there, you're going to get some water in your fuel, and water's a bad thing. So if you can fill the thing right up, it's a really good idea. If you don't have any access to, or if non-ethanol based fuel is not an option, you can use A fuel stabilizer like this one right here. This is Stable brand. I have used this as well and had good luck with it, so that's an option if you can't get non-ethanol based fuel. So fill it right up with the best quality fuels you can. Next thing I do is I like to change the oil. Neither one of these cars were due for an oil change. For example, this the Chevelle here, it had 600 miles on the oil, but I still like to park these things with fresh oil in them. And the reason for that is basically, even in a short driving distance, you can get contaminants in your oil. Really good idea to store them in fresh oil if you can. And let's face it, oil's cheap. It cost me 20 bucks to change the oil in this thing, and it was about 20 minutes to do it. So in this car here, this one takes the Dextos full synthetic, and I think it was 35 bucks to do that one. So not a big deal. I don't even store my lawnmower without fresh oil in it. So I mean, certainly I'm not going to store my cars that way. So change the oil, whether it's due or not. Change the oil in the car. Really good time once you've done that is to grease the front end. Grease everything you can. This one's got lots of grease zerks in it. Inner and outer tie rods, idler, center link, the U-joints, all that stuff. This car down here is not a lot of grease points on this one. Inner and outer tie rods, that's about it. But yeah, grease the car. Check all your fluids. Make sure all your fluids are topped up and they look nice and clean. Your brake fluid, your transmission fluid, your power steering fluid. Now coolant. Coolant's an important one too. You want to make sure that it's going to exceed the strength is going to exceed the coldest point that car is going to see over the winter months. So if it gets to, you know, minus 30 degrees Celsius, you want it to at least be as good as that or exceed that if possible. This one up here I think is good for minus 20 degrees Celsius. This one down here is about minus 35. The garage here, the temperature does fluctuate, but it doesn't typically get any colder than minus 5 in this garage. When I do work in here, I turn on the heater and you know, bring the temperature up to about 20. And like I say, the coldest it'll get in here is like minus 5. So anyway, things to think about. Coolant is one of them. A lot of guys store their car with water, and I've been there, and that can make for a really bad day in the spring when you go to start the car. That's something you gotta make sure is the strength is there. What else? The battery. Batteries. Now, about every 2 weeks, I like to put a tender on these cars, and I alternate the tender from car to car. The battery tender is the guy I use right here. One of these little guys, and these are cheap. These are like, you know, 40 bucks for a decent one. You can get ones that will actually hard start your vehicle as well, but this is just a basic little battery tender. You can plug them on. You can leave them on all winter if you like. In my case, I only have one, so I have to alternate from car to car. And it's a really good idea if you can't put if you don't have access to the car all winter, if it's in a storage facility where you can't get to the car, might be a really good idea, whether it's an old car or a new car, to pull that battery out, get it into a nice warm dry place, and throw a charger on it once in a while. As an example, I just replaced the battery in this car this spring, and it was 13 years old. And that's in Canada, that's, you know, that's a long time to be able to operate a battery for. Typically, you know, you'd be lucky to get 6 years out of a battery today. So anyways, I got 13 out of that one, and that was just looking after it, maintaining it, especially when it's sitting. And keep in mind, storing a car for any length of time is bad for it. These things are made to be driven. and when they have to sit for an extended period of time, it's really bad for a car. So it's a good idea to follow these little points, and things are going to work for you when you start that thing up in the spring. So yeah, that's a few of the things. I think we covered most of them, guys. Uh, Fill it up with gas, good quality fuel. Keep your battery charged. Take it out if you have to. Don't leave it in there. It's especially on these new cars. They have a little. There's a computer in this car with a clock, and this thing has to. It draws power consistently, and it will only take a few weeks to absolutely kill the battery in this car. The older car, there's no computer in there, but still, it's hard on them to let them sit for an extended period of time. So, I think we covered just about everything, guys. The only other thing I like to do, I do start these cars periodically through the winter time. Over a 6-month period, I might start them 3 or 4 times over the winter. And especially with the older car, and if you're running a higher lift, longer duration camshaft, when you shut these things off, not all the valves are closed. Some of them are open. So if you think about spring pressure, that spring, is sitting squashed for 6 months. And it's something I like to do that. I like to start them up, make sure that the top ends are nicely oiled, and that hopefully the car shuts off in a different position and that valve is closed the following time. And it's just to keep things moving. And it's good for the transmission to let it run a heat cycle through it. I run them for about 15 minutes when I can. I wait for a nicer day and turn the heater on in here, get it nice and warm, and then run them for about 15-20 minutes each. And like I say, I do that about 3-4 times over a 6-month period. If you can't do that, well then you can't. It's just something I like to do. Anyway, I hope that helps you guys. So if you're storing a vehicle for the winter, those are just some little points that work for me. Like I say, I've been doing this for about 41 years. Living in Canada, I've always had at least one car stuck away in the garage or in storage. And those little things it's just going to make it nicer for you when you fire that thing up in the spring. I know a lot of guys that just don't think about it. They stick the car in the garage. They don't worry about changing the oil or topping up the gas tank, and some guys get away with it, and the next guy, he'll have trouble the next year. The thing won't start, and it certainly won't run very well, and you don't want that. When it's springtime, you want to be able to get in these things and just go. So anyway, that's about it, guys. Hopefully that helps some guys out, and yeah, make for winter's it's 6 months is a long time to not be able to drive these things, and it's really nice to be able to fire them up and take them out when the weather permits. So, all right, well, sounds good, guys. Thank you.